Hey guys, it's Viva. Today's video is going to be a little bit upsetting because I'm going to be talking about the top 10 books that made me cry. Now, one thing that you should probably know, and have probably understood if you've been watching quite a lot of my videos, is that I'm a very emotional reader. I cry at most books, but the 10 books that I've selected for this video are books that have genuinely made me sob and have just put me in a really, really bad position. Like, normally when I'm reading a book, I will have a couple of tears just trickling down my face, but with these ones, they are heart-wrenchers. So yes, let's get started with the top 10, starting from the bottom. Number 10 is If I Stay by Gail Forman, which I don't have a physical copy of, but this book was just sad throughout the entire thing, which is probably why I only sobbed maybe 1 or 2 times. But the fact that it was just sad throughout the entire thing, that's why I think it is in my top 10, because I don't think I've read a book that is just sad throughout the book. So I think this had to make its place in the top 10. Number 9 in the list is The House of Hades, which is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. And this, I wouldn't say it's a sad book, but there's just one part of it to do with someone called Bob that really just, no, it's just too much. I don't particularly want to say what happens because that will be a spoiler, but literally this book, it's not something that I would usually cry at. I don't tend to cry at Percy Jackson because it's not a sad book, but it was just this one part and I just could not control myself and just broke down sobbing because it was just so sad. Number 8 is Love Rosie by Cecilia. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name because I don't know how to say it, but Love Rosie is just the cutest story ever, and if you've read the book and seen the film then you will understand how cute it is. I think this one is in my top 10 because I wasn't sad while reading it. That's why the title is not 10 books that made me sad, it's 10 books that made me cry, because when I was crying at this book it was because I was just so happy. I was just overwhelmingly happy at how cute it was, and I was so happy with the ending. And oh, if you haven't read this book then you have to read it because it's so beautiful, so beautiful. I love it so much. Number 7 on my list. Now, I said that I don't cry at Percy Jackson, but here's another Percy Jackson on my list. Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan, again in the Heroes of Olympus series. This is the last book and this had to be on the list because the ending. I still don't understand why Rick did this, because no, the ending, I was just not happy with the ending at all. I mean, fair enough, it turns out to be sort of happy, but still, no. Leading up to the end, when a certain thing happens to a certain person, ooh, especially if that certain person is one of your favourite characters, then double ooh, because no. Just absolutely no. The thing happened and I was just not expecting it, and it was terrible. I used so many tissues while reading this because I was in such a bad state. I'm not even going to go there because, and then also at the ending, right at the end, it made me just very, very angry that this was the last book and it hadn't been completely finished. It wasn't neat, and that really annoyed me. So I cried even more because I was first of all sad at the thing that had happened and then also angry. So I was not in the best state after reading this book. Number 6 is Mockingjay, the final book of the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. Do I need to really go through why this made me cry? I can just list off the things that made me cry in this. Number 1, Peter. On several occasions made me cry. Hijacked Peter when he becomes normal, just Peter in general in this entire book just was too emotional. It was just too emotional for me to handle. Number 2, Finnick. Not going to say anything else. Number 3, Prim. Again, not going to say anything. Number 4, the epilogue. Oh my god, one of the cutest epilogues ever written. And also the ending of this book is just, again, so cute that I just started crying. But majorly the tears were invoked by Peter in this book, so well done Peter. Peter and Finnick. You deserve an award for making me cry. Number 5, again, I don't have a physical copy. It is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. Oh my God, the ending of this book. Oh, I think even more than the ending, it was the epilogue in this book. It was just so sad. I think the saddest epilogue that I have ever read in my entire life was in this book. Oh, it was just too much to handle, and I was an absolute wreck. No one could have come near me when I finished this book because I would have just lashed out and scramped at them to go away. Right, number 4, I think this is number 4 on the list. The 4th book is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Need I say more? The amount of deaths in this book, they don't even sort of give us time to realise that the person has died and give us time to mourn. It's just death, death, death. So much death. This was one of the books I had to keep it sort of in the top 4 of my list because there was just a constant trickle of tears while I was reading this book, because J.K. Rowling just does not give us a chance to recover after anyone's death. Do I need to name a couple? Dobby. Dobby is the one that made me cry the most. Dobby. Dobby, and then Fred. Let's not go there, it's making me emotional. Fred, Lupin, Tonks. The list goes on, the list goes on. But then the cherry on the cake was the ending, the epilogue. The realisation hit that it was the last book, and I was reading the last page of Harry Potter, and that's when I sobbed even harder because I didn't want it to end, and I was like, well, there's nothing else I can do but cry, so cry and cry and cry. So that's what I did. Number 3 on my list is Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. Now, Morgan Matson's books I didn't think would make me cry, because after reading Amy and Roger's Epic Detour and Since You've Been Gone, I didn't cry. I just thought it was, you know, really amazing books and really quite contemporary, nice sort of feel-good books. And then I got to this. On the back it does say that her father's dying from cancer, so it's no big spoiler, he is dying, and basically they decide to go off to their lake house to spend a last summer. So throughout the entire book I knew that her father was dying, but then it happened at the end and I just couldn't control myself. I don't really know why, because I knew that he was dying. It wasn't a shock. But still, when he did die at the end, I sobbed like a baby. I think maybe because it was written in Taylor Edwards' point of view, and she's very close to her dad, so I felt like I got to know her dad quite well. So when he died, it was... no, not nice. I used half a box of tissues crying at this, and this was at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, this was around 11 o'clock at night and I just finished this book and I was sobbing my eyes out. So number 2 on my list is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This had to be number 2 because, oh my god, it was such a shock. I thought that after everything that had happened, they would have a happy ending. I honestly thought that Jennifer Niven would be good to us and give Violet and Finch a happy ending, but no, because authors just like to mess with us and like to make us cry. So she did what she did at the end of this book, and I couldn't handle it. When I cry, it's sort of trickle of tears. I don't really get snotty, but with this book, very snotty. I got a lot of snot everywhere, bit gross, and I just could not control myself when reading this book. Because to begin with, it was quite sad. It was quite, you know, because it's about suicide, and, you know, that's not a very happy topic. So to begin with, at the start of this book, I knew that it was going to be quite sad and quite a serious book. But I just was not expecting the end. So when it got there, I could not control myself at all and just completely broke down. And now for the freaking mothership of books that make you sob. It's The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Nothing could beat this book on this list because I have never, ever in my entire life cried more than when I read this book. I hadn't been spoiled at all, so I had no idea what was happening, but as soon as Augustus was diagnosed again with cancer, I locked myself in the bathroom because I knew that this wasn't going to end well, and I'm glad I did lock myself in the bathroom when reading the ending of this book because I was a mess. I do cry quite a lot in my life, but I have never, ever cried more. I could not breathe when I finished this book. I was crying that much. It was just so shocking because I thought they were going to have a happy ending, but no, John Green hates us. So I was completely shocked and I was sobbing my eyes out. There was snot everywhere. I must have finished an entire loo roll. I was an absolute mess and then I couldn't breathe. Ooh. So John Green, thank you for making me feel so much. That is the end of my video. I hope you liked it, although it wasn't a very happy video. Please let me know in the comments below which books you've cried at, because I have mentioned before that if a book makes me cry, then I do like it, because it shows that the author has the ability to make me feel something. So books that made you cry, yeah, recommend down below, so I'll give them a read. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Hasta la vista, bookworms!